What a beautiful way to start the 2020 LCS season for 100 Thieves.
Cole, I know you're talking about that transition animation.
I was actually talking about the sweet, smooth, buttery sounds of Dexter Wanzel in the intro music, but I'll take your compliment on the transitions now. We're high tech now, everyone.
Just one more reason. If you are a podcast listener, dedicated podcast listener, respect to you. But just know you're now missing out on visual transition effects, courtesy of our visual transition master, Cole. Wow, Cole, you outdone yourself.
Production value skyrocketing. Everybody, welcome back. This is 100 Talk. Haven't said that in a long time. I haven't said this either. I'm this guy. He's that guy. We're here to talk about 100 Thieves League of Legends and preview a little bit what we're looking for in the upcoming split, which starts in how many days? 10 days. I guess maybe 11 technically. I don't know. I need to look at the exact schedule and figure out what's happening. I know that Saturday is the 25th, right?
Cole, somebody in Twitch chat said 10 days, and Twitch has never been wrong.
Twitch has never, ever said a wrong thing. Never.
So I'm going with 10.
Once.
I'm taking 10. Next weekend, aka next weekend, Cole. We should have kept the day counter going when we started this off season, because I swear to you, it was like 140 days ago. It was so long ago. I can't believe that we're here. It's season 10. This is year 3, my friend. The 3rd season that we've been following this team. I can't believe it, man.
That's
what
weird.
Is going on?
It does sound weird when you say it that way. I'm not going to lie.
Not that we are 3 years old, but 2018, 19, 20. Whew.
But we are a little over a year and a half old now.
We're getting there. We're getting up there.
We're walking a little bit. We're going to get ready to say some full sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? In a couple of years, we might be a fully formed podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to give us at least a couple more years to get there.
Yeah, we're going to.
Although with these transition effects, Cole, that's a huge step in the right direction.
Hit me with the premium gas for 2020.
Can we get another transition? Just real quick.
Okay.
Just in and out.
All right. In and out of the starting screen.
Please pay close attention, y'all. Oh. Dang. Okay. The show is over. That's
all
a
right.
wrap.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Steve.
Hope you enjoyed. Okay.
Chat.
Look,
Cole, we got some stuff to talk about.
We do. Well, we have some stuff to talk about. Not a whole lot, because I got to say, of all the times waiting for a split to start, whether it's spring or summer, this has been, I feel, the quietest. It's been super, super strange just to have to sit and twiddle your thumbs and wait on the news and information to come. At the same time, read the sign behind me, okay?
Yeah, trust the Papa. Continue.
It's time to trust the Papa, so I'm not going to complain about that. But we're here to talk about what we know so far, review some of the boot camp information that we got from the videos that were put out. We'll talk about how other people are talking about the team, and do
a lot of talking to do.
Yeah, and then do some listener questions and takes and stuff a little bit later as well. So don't know if this is a full-fledged show, like a full-length episode, but I think I've said that for the past 3, and every time we've gone full-time. So I'm just, screw that disclaimer.
Yeah, we'll see where we go. We're still in like drips and drops mode of the things that we know. A lot of this is, I like to consider this phase of the season the part of the year where you try to make the absolute most out of the absolute least information. You've seen 0 games. No one has actually picked a champion yet. And we get to all try to figure out where people are going to land. It's impossible. But we are going to do our best to assess the hard work of others in this. We're not going to do a full power ranking. We're going to take a little time to look at the power rankings that have come out from others and give some thoughts there, because I've got some thoughts there.
Yeah. Well, save them, because we need to talk about things in a more appropriate order.
Let's do this in an orderly fashion.
Yeah, let's lead off and talk about what we know from the boot camp videos.
Right.
We got 2 boot camp nuggets, about 10 minutes each, right, of stuff that came out of there. I'll let you lead off here.
Yeah.
What are some of your main takeaways from the boot camp videos? How are you feeling seeing this team together in real life for the first time?
It was in Europe, so consider how real that is. Um, it I think this, like I said, this is the part where everybody they pick up on like the one or two words they have to describe people. Like, what are the storylines you know so far? Okay, you got the new guy, you got uh Ryoma,
Ryoma, right?
Ryoma.
I
It's gonna
swear
be
they've
ugly.
gone back and forth in
They
it. I
have.
heard him
I
say Ryoma. I'm gonna
Yes, thank
stay
you.
with that right
I
now.
picked up on it too. So Ryoma, the new guy, right? And so everybody's watching and say, what's the interaction like? How are they getting along off the rift? That would probably tell us how they get on the rift. Um, and then you've got Medios, the funny jokester, back in action, cracking funny jokes, talking about how he can't drink beer. Um, you have the family unit, Cody Sun and Stunt. They've played together, Cole. They're good friends with one another. So all these things that we know, and then you got Ssumday who just, he had a hot dog. He's
He's
gonna
there.
crush. We don't need to assess any further. We know exactly how this goes. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of looking at the interactions. And here's what I'll say: I left these videos with a similar impression as I left a lot of the videos, the content from kind of like the spring 2018 era, which is the last time we saw this full team together,
Mhm.
uh, in not too different a shape.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think um, the last time we talked about this, which was still in this off season, we kind of talked about how the vibe felt really good in that team. And going back and watching the videos, watching the heists, the old stuff, it was easy to leave those videos feeling like this is a team that seems to mesh pretty well. They gel. They've got a kind of an easy dynamic. And so the thing that I'll put out there, not that I think we should look into this too far, is appearances can be deceiving because we
Mhm.
know that behind the scenes that team was kind of fraying. And it wasn't too long after some of those lighthearted videos that changes to the roster started happening. So I'm not saying that we should expect change to the roster. I'm not saying that we should expect the same problems to be there, but I am saying that I think Medios is a funny guy who is going to be funny no matter what the circumstances are. I just don't think you can read too much into this stuff yet. I'm tempted to look at this and say, I think these guys are off to a great start, and they have what seems to be a good dynamic. They're laughing, they're joking, they're playing games. They're kind of poking fun at the stuff that might otherwise tilt people, and it seems all good. So that's how I think about it in overall.
I think mostly I agree with that. There is something else though, because I agree in the sense that you are getting some 2018 vibes from the team. It feels similar to that. But if you remember, one of those vibes was that it's a team of people who don't really talk, right?
Mm.
And it was Medios talking, maybe
Hmm.
Aframu a little bit back then, you know?
Yeah.
And now it kind of seems like Medios talking, maybe a little bit of Cody. And everybody,
Yeah.
like Ryoma seems super quiet at the
He
moment.
did. He
Now,
did.
again, we're basing this off of just these little snippets of
Mhm.
video. It's not representative of the full thing. But I
Right.
definitely got those vibes in
Yeah.
2018, and I'm starting to get them now too, where it's like, are we gonna be a super quiet team?
Oh, I don't
It
want to be a
looks like they're
quiet team,
getting
Cole.
along. I know I don't want to be a quiet team, but
Yeah.
it looks like right now they're getting along. But it also kind of feels like Medios is trying his best to pull out conversation from those people,
Right.
from his teammates, which that may just be simply a function of time.
Hmm.
But I hope they can find some sort of groove and some personality can come out a little bit more along
Yeah.
those lines. Especially like I said with Ryoma, we know Ssumday is going to be quiet, kind boy, like
Yeah.
that. That is the permanent,
Yeah.
thing for him. But
His brand is settled.
yeah,
We know who he is. Everyone else knows who he is. They fear who he is. And yeah, that story's written.
yeah,
But Ryoma, I mean, and you think about too, like um what we know about his play style is that he is aggressive. He pops off or he ints, right? You don't really expect for him to be kind of a reserved and quiet dude. So it will be very interesting to see. I mean, let's as we're tallying the list of things to be excited for, let's not forget that the heist is hot on the heels of this stuff, right? So very quickly we'll start to see more content. And depending on how this goes, it's going to be very informative, I think, because we again trust the Papa talking about all these things. Um, the the thing for us to remember is this might not start well. We might not start where we aspire to finish. It might start slow. There might be an adjustment period. So I will be fascinated to see the heist content, and I hope for the heist team they get some more cheery stuff to work with, because the last year's been a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
Um,
You gotta ask.
yeah,
You gotta
we'll see.
ask though. Is it still the heist? I mean, we haven't gotten heist titles yet this year. The last
gotta
couple of videos
think.
just haven't had the heist branding, so maybe they're moving away from that, or maybe it's simply a function of preseason. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure the heist was going in preseason in 2018 and 2019. So who knows?
Very insightful.
Can I back up for just
Catch.
a second?
Yes.
Cody and Stunt, it by all accounts and appearances, it looks like they're friends. They're good with each other. It's 100 Thieves even went out of their way, right, a while ago, like back at, what was it, November or December, whenever, to put out that video where they're playing trivia, guessing things about each other. I hope that's genuine.
Yeah.
I hope that's genuine. I don't know if it is. I hope that's genuine though, because if
What pieces of it are you not sure on?
no, I'm not making any conclusions on it. Serious. All I'm saying is I just hope it's genuine, because I wonder if they're forcing it a bit just to, communicate like, hey, everything's good, we're solid. And I don't have any concerns along that front, but I do hope that this bot lane can feel connected and good, because I mean, and we'll talk about this later, but Cody was having a pretty good end of the split.
He's been strong.
Yeah, he was being pretty strong. So it would be a shame to kind of lose some of that. Something else that I have my eye on, and obviously in the video it was revealed that Zix was sick for a portion of this boot camp. Man, a lot of communication coming out of Papa Smithy though, and not a lot coming out from him. Like I don't know if I'm being oversensitive to it, or maybe it's because I'm used to hearing from Prawley so much. But I'm almost like, man, like Zix is the coach, right? Like it's not he's not an assistant coach, he's a coach. He's a head coach, right? Again, probably because it's sick, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing his personality and how he's going to approach working with these guys. There was
I wonder. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there was a certain way that probably went about things, and it was very particular to him. And how are these guys, three of the same pieces from that team, gonna handle a different personality, a different take? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to finding out what that really is with him. And I wish he was healthier so we could have gotten a better feel for that.
Well, that's another thing I'll be watching out for, is even when he's healthy, right? What role does Papa view himself as having when it comes to communication with the fans, with media, right? I mean, he's a guy who is media trained. Like you're not going to find a person out there who's more comfortable in front of a camera and a mic, and that's a strength, right? Like that's a unique strength that he has, especially when it comes to this game.
Yeah.
He's viewed widely as kind of a preeminent thinker when it comes to the game. Certainly when it comes to talking about the game, I think you could argue there's probably no one better than him, literally talking about the game that's happening in front of you or just in general. So I will be interested to see if he kind of falls naturally into that role, right, of mouthpiece for the team and expressing the nuanced things that are happening in a way that feels relatable and accessible and understandable to people who otherwise might not know, right? That's another thing I think he's good at, is how, when you're broadcasting this game, how do you do it in a way that you don't have to be a challenger to understand kind of the high level stuff. So he's got a lot of those skills. My guess is, if I had to guess, which I'm doing right now, I would say we should expect to see more from Papa and less from Zix compared to what we did before.
Yeah.
And I think partially that might be because probably by default was having to play a little bit of the GM role, right? There's nobody else to do that. And there was even a couple times, at least once, where we saw Jackson talking about this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Papa kind of casts an umbrella over all that stuff, and probably would put that expectation on himself to communicate those kinds of things when it needs communicating to the fans. And I think another one that we'll learn pretty quickly, if that's how it's going to play out. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. And maybe actually that's not like from a competitive standpoint, is there an advantage to that, to not having your coach out there talking about like the team and what we're thinking about, what we're trying, and strategies and all these things?
I don't know. I think it's pretty standard. I mean, you compare it to traditional sports, which I know a lot of Twitch chat will groan at, but if you compare it to traditional sports, the coaches are very vocal. They are for what's going on with the teams, and the GMs are much more quiet with, I mean, little exception. And so I think we should expect that from Zix going forward. I think their visions are going to be aligned. Like Zix and Papa will have the same goals and the same strategies, especially in the beginning. We'll see how, right. And he was in there especially to help Ryoma, and he's just not there anymore, and kind of made a semi cryptic post about it. I didn't take it in any way that things were weird for him with the team. I got the vibe that he was saying, I thought I could do this the right way, and it turns out I really can't. Like I haven't been able to do what I want to in this structure. And it kind of sounded like he viewed that as his problem or his failure or whatever, more than anything with 100 Thieves. In fact, I think he went out of his way to compliment 100 Thieves during that process. So I don't see it weird in that sense. I don't think, oh wow, already things going wrong. I don't see it like that at all. But it is strange.
It's falling
like
apart, Cole.
The dynamic obviously already has changed for Ryoma inside the team. So hopefully that's nothing to worry about, and he can find the stability he needs going forward. But I was surprised by that. It didn't last long.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was kind of, trying something new for us at least. We didn't have that position previously. No word about finding somebody else to do that. Right? Haven't seen anybody else announced as joining the staffing or the coaching team. So yeah, you hope that that's not a thing. I mean, we did have Ryu in the past, right? And he was kind of, that wasn't his title, but you could probably assume that was partially what he was up to. How effective that was is TBD. I'm not sure that anybody felt like that was a huge contributor to the team, just given kind of how the team went.
Yeah.
And the fact that he eventually just said, yeah, okay, I'll just come back and play.
I'll just play. Let's fix it this way.
How about if I just do it?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't expect a rehire or anything.
Yeah.
In that position. So we'll see. But Jungle Juice was there and doing work too. So, they've got a staff of 3 leaders in there between Jungle Juice, Zix, and Papa. So I think there's enough of the strategic angle in there. There's different personalities to kind of check each other.
Agreed.
I'm feeling optimistic on the coaching balance going forward. My whole thing behind this was I hope we hear more from Zix. I do want to hear more from him directly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that contributes to this idea as well, that it's hard to really assess how much and what contributions coaches are making in this environment, because we hear so little from them. So if we're hearing even less than we heard in past heists, it would just mean that there's one piece of this puzzle that is really unclear to us, and we'd have to go entirely off the word of whoever is talking about the coaching position, right? And if it's not Zix doing it, then you've got to assume it's going to be Papa Smithy.
Right.
If there are situations that arise in the future, like we had with Prolly, right, where he is saying, he was kind of the one to say, I'm looking at myself.
Yeah.
Right? Is this something that I'm doing that I need to do differently? So a position that's always been kind of unclear, and at least in the LCS, and we'll see what approach the team takes this year.
Memories of Prolly Watch coming back there. One more element of boot camp that we should bring up was what was reported by Jacob Wolf during the ESPN preseason special. Now, this is how I understood it. So someone else check me again if you disagree with this, but the way it kind of sounded was that we had scrimmed a bunch of LEC teams, not Fnatic, not G2, and we were beat fairly handily by Origin and Rogue, and then everybody else we kind of were like even with, you know, even record. So assuming that's true, and again, Twitch, you if I get that wrong, let me know now because we're going to discuss this a little. How do you feel with that news? Does that tell you anything about this team, or is it just okay, whatever, scrims?
The age-old question: how much do you read into scrims? I mean, I think you can answer it in every possible way, right? There's part of you could say, yeah, that's concerning because the LEC is no stranger to the parity gap that we also experience, right? Where you've got
Meaning it's top heavy.
G2, Fnatic, Origin, Rogue, all else. So if you're not really competing with Origin, Rogue, and you're not playing G2, Fnatic, you don't have a sense, like it doesn't leave you a lot to feel optimistic about. But I think the thing about scrims is the desired outcomes of a team going into scrims is not always to see how much you can win, right? Sometimes it's like, how does it work if we put Ryoma on a control mage? What's that like? Like how's this Zillion?
Yeah.
You can't carry the game with that, but you can sure turn it. So you can ask a lot of questions in those kinds of games, or maybe the other team said, "Hey, we know that G2 is going to throw some silly stuff at us. Can you put Cody Sun on some mages and just give us a try?" You're going to get dumpstered, right?
Yeah.
You're going to do your best, but you're going to lose that. So I'm always hesitant to read too much into that because I think that there sometimes is a misconception that scrims is one team trying as hard as it can to beat another team, and they just don't publicize the result, right?
Sure.
When really we know it's a lot. There's a lot more to it. So I don't read too much into it, just because you don't know what the classifier is on the game type. There, like, what's our objective? But there's of course that nagging part of you that wants to say like, but you're still losing.
But for me, it's like, I guess in terms of scrims, when I have a new team, especially with a super unproven player that we're not sure about, I just don't want to lose. I don't want to get destroyed. I want to be competitive, right? As long as we're competitive in scrims, I'm good. Like that's all. It's a low hurdle to clear, but at least we cleared it, because if things were truly wrong, we probably would have gotten dumpstered by everybody.
Yeah. So you're looking at the fact that we were even against the rest of the LEC. And I mean, here's another way to look at it. The rest of the LEC is positions 5 through 10.
Basically,
even with,
yeah. Expected Rogue and OG are going to be up there, yeah.
Right. Yeah, call it they're the 3 and 4. And look, I'm no LEC expert. I could be way off base here, but I'm assuming
we don't even like that region.
I saw their thing this morning and I was
projecting.
like, yeah, okay. I know what I need for the rest of the split. But I think you could take from that, we're even against 5 through 10. That's playoffs, right? That's kind of where people are putting us to foreshadow a little bit here. You could look at that and say that's exactly what we expected.
Yeah.
And a marked improvement from last season overall.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, don't forget, don't remember this. Don't forget, we finished in 8th place at the end of last split, NA 8th place. I know there's tiebreakers. It was close. It's debatable. We could have jumped up. But we finished in 8th place. So if you're drawn even with the bottom 6 of the LEC, like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I mean, that tells me, and again, the argument could be made that the bottom 6 in the LEC are weaker than the bottom 6 in the LCS, but I think you're kind of kidding yourself if that's the argument you're making at this point. It's an argument to be made, right? It's not definitive one way or the other. It's not fact. You could say that about like a minor region, probably.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's how I'm taking this. Is it gives me confidence that we can compete, and that's great. I'm taking that.
The only thing I'm looking for in preseason is like the guys get along, good.
Mhm.
Are the guys relatively competitive? Good. Is there
Yeah.
a foundation we can build on? Good. And to me, that kind of results in scrims is fine. Like if we went in and we lost everything we did, I would have concerns. But other than that, I'm not going to read more into it.
Yeah. And the first thing you said is super important, and I don't want us to lose sight of that. Do the guys get along is so important for this specific roster
Yeah.
because we were a fantastic team in spring 2018. We uh we handily beat a lot of really good teams, and it was the team dynamic piece, whether that was coach and players, players and players, who knows, who cares, that led to that fantastic team not sticking together to go to Worlds,
Yeah.
right? So that
Good
can't
point.
be under valued.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, since we're already kind of talking about rankings and where we're going to finish, let's go into power rankings if you're cool with that.
Let's do it. Cole, hit the power ranking sound.
There's a sound.
I was just
There we
expecting
go.
that you had something on the soundboard.
No, I may still have my like Bard and Meep sounds from the
Hit a
Rec
Meep
League
sound.
stream. Okay, and before you guys in Twitch chat get excited, we're not talking about our power rankings because that's not what we do. No one cares about our opinion on power rankings. What we have here is the power rankings from kind of the more notable public outlets. We don't have the dive power rankings yet. I expect that's going to come in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I think they said I think they said they're doing like recording on the 21st.
Oh wow, that close? Yikes.
Yeah, I know.
All right, guys, trying to get all the information before they go do that. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that show.
Make an informed opinion. Come on.
I like the dive. But here we have ESPN. It has us in 6th. Esports 5th. Invent Global did a weird thing. They like gave you an out of 10 rating instead of a ranking.
Yeah,
but
I didn't like
combing through that, we were tied for 5th. I think with CLG. Oracle's Elixir, our friend Tim, who maybe shouldn't be our friend anymore after this. Timothy.
Submissive
Has
playoff.
us in 7th. No. Gamehouse has us in 8th. Even more offensive. And then League Unlock has us in 6th. So
yeah.
Jordan, I'll let you lead off.
Yeah.
Who would you like to tee off on this list? And what are your thoughts?
Cole, I'm seeing a lot of 5 and 6. I'm scanning the true analysts here in Twitch chat. I'm seeing a lot of 5 and 6. 4 is optimistic. I feel like that's pretty much a consensus. 5, 6. A lot of people feel like we're a playoff team. I think a lot of people would say if you get into cracking top 4s, you're being optimistic. You're not being insane, but you're being optimistic. And so I think that's generally where I fall. And so when I look at this list, it's 6-5, tied for 5th, 6th. The 7th and 8th stand out to me. And one thing I wanted to call out is Tim. Love you, man. Came on the show. I'm going to do this with all the respect that it deserves because this process it's just prediction and it's all for fun. But I thought it was interesting. Tim did not comment at all on Meteos. And so as you read through these different power rankings, the common themes, no surprise, Ryoma, Stunt. How are those two going to show up?
Mm-hmm.
And importantly, how are they going to enable or not the rest of the team to do what they need to do, right? So I think we saw it all too well with Ssumday, right? That was kind of the story of Ssumday in 2019. He didn't drop off himself. He went to Academy and absolutely smurfed the whole time. Won the Academy World Championship. So the question is, are these players, Ryoma, Stunt, going to do their job well enough to allow the other 3 hard carries, the players with the most carry potential, to do their job? And so I just thought it was really interesting that Tim didn't mention Meteos because I see Meteos as being a pretty substantial upgrade when it comes to the potential to impact a game over Amazing. And I think Amazing was good. And he had a lot of, he made a huge contribution to our squad last season. So, or last split. So I think that Meteos is actually a really big piece of this. And shouldn't be overlooked that he has in the past linked up really, really well with Ssumday and Cody Sun, both of them.
Yeah.
So I think you got to be a little careful about overweighting the potential of Ryoma and Stunt. Now, of course, if those two fall flat, as we've seen with players like Saligo in the past, who he, the other players we've had in mid that just didn't work out, it can be a huge problem. So at the same time, I understand where he's coming from, and I can appreciate that. But I think Meteos is on another level and probably has a higher capacity to carry a team like he did with Optic. That would cover for some of those gaps in the other lanes, mid and support, specifically in this situation.
Yeah. So here's what I'm gonna say. You're talking a lot about Meteos, which I think is a very good thing to point out. You and I both had him as a very highly ranked jungler last split, like one of the top junglers. He played very well in my opinion, and you agreed. Here's the thing. So say, it's just not working out like too well. This may be unpopular, but we got contracts as a backup, and in my opinion, he is pretty good too.
That's true.
I know people will point to deaths and stuff like that. I mean, I believe in him. I think he's a good jungler. I think he is better than 3 or 4, maybe more starting junglers in LCS. Yeah. So it's not like we don't have a solid backup option in my opinion, unlikely case that Meteos isn't playing very well this split. I think Meteos is, if he can play like last split and like 2018 for us, we should be in good shape. So, the thing that I'm actually, and Ryoma, I think, is going to be just a continued development project. We'll talk more about Ryoma later, but I almost feel like Stunt is the one to watch here. And as Stunt goes, that may determine what we do. Because I feel like we know we're going to start slow with Ryoma in mid lane, and we're going to see how that develops. But the other part would be like, how stable is the bot lane? But honestly, I think, I had us in 5th the last time we talked about this. And that's kind of where I'm feeling still. Like after all this, kind of think we're about a 5th place team. I think if everything goes super well, there may be potential to move up even higher. A lot of people are super high on TSM. I'm actually not high on TSM right now. I think there are still some question marks. It's things that were unanswered about what happened last year, Who knows if all that's been sorted out just by a couple personnel changes or not. So, I'm not, until I see differently, I'm not going to go off and say I super believe in them. So that, among some other things, there might be some room for us to move up a little bit. So I'm gonna say 5th. Things go well, I think we could even go up to 4th. I'm hoping we don't do this podcast in 3 months and we're sitting at the bottom saying what happened, just like we did in 2019. I hope Cole, I'm honestly, not eating that. I'm legitimately trying not to be fanboy mode. Look, I have a 100 Thieves hat. I took it off. I'm trying not to fanboy here.
I put mine on.
I really think that's where we should end up.
Cole, that's the nightmare scenario. That's the one that I just really I do not want us to find ourselves in again. It's a sad place to be. It's not much fun. You guys stop showing up to watch our show. It's just kind of a downer when you're last place. It kind of stings a little bit. I really hope we don't go there. But we'll see. I think I'm with you more or less on that. Everything you said about where we stand, potential to move up. One thing I will say, I know that bot side of the map is super important, and mid jungle synergy is super important. I have to put some faith in the idea that if you are a team playing against 100 Thieves and you forget about the top side of the map, you're going to check back in and it's just going to be a flaming wreckage in the top lane. It's going to be Ssumday on 4 kills, with 2 completed items, and it's going to be a problem for you. So we're not a team that is so one-dimensional that it's like, oh, you just blow up mid lane and you got those guys beat, no problem. Just show up and get some free kills. So that's my hope, is that we bring a lot of different looks, and we're able to kind of, in some ways, I feel like we're playing a similar story back here, Cole, which is question marks in mid lane, right? Sometimes you get a question mark ping or
Oh
two.
man, you're making me very uncomfortable with this.
But
You're
here's the
so
difference.
right saying that.
Here's the difference that I see in this squad compared to previous squads. I think I have more confidence in the surround of mid lane, right? We have our strength back in the jungle. We have our hard carry in top lane. We have one of the strongest performing ADCs in the LCS in recent history. So there's a lot more here that I feel comfortable with, and I think it remains just that, a question in mid lane, and we'll see how much of a factor that is. Best case scenario, our guy Ryoma pops off and he is the terror of the LCS. Worst case scenario, our other guys have a lot of carrying to do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go back. So we kind of addressed these power rankings. I want to talk Ryoma for a second because we actually had something come through in Twitch chat that was interesting. Dr. LOL says he wants our perspective on Ryoma because he says, I'm from Osh. Is that he's not even a top 3 mid laner from Osh, and he would be a solid choice for an academy team, but is for sure not good enough for LCS. So someone who is a fan of that region and sees that's the take. Here's what I'll say. First of all, this is for sure a speculation signing. They are not signing a product that they believe is finished and ready to dominate LCS. Right. What they see is a play style and an attitude and a potential to make an impact. And that's what they're signing him for. And they're trying to plug something in that will solve a problem that we've had at a time where it may not be the most urgent for us to solve that problem. You know what I mean? Like if it doesn't go right now, it's, we're kind of in the bottom of the standings. It's not like we're letting the championship opportunity slip through our fingers. I think the team wants to win, but I think the messaging that the team gave off in the beginning is that there may be some rebuilding days ahead, and we need to be patient. And that seems to be a possible part of Papa Smithy's vision. Here's the other thing. I'm gonna get in trouble here. Like,
I like where you're going with this. I'm already excited.
I think I'm gonna get a hard disagree from most people with this part of my take. Okay.
It wouldn't be the first time that's happened to me.
Especially because I'm throwing something you guys always say back at you.
All right.
I mean, did you watch the World's Play-ins? Okay? Did you watch that? Because if you remember, your boy DeMonte, who you all seem to think is a top 3 mid laner in NA, barely got in past an Osh team whose mid laner was popping off. Yeah. So if I'm not so sure that the huge, the conclusion that NA mid laners are so much better than Osh is entirely accurate. Now we have, don't get me wrong, again, we have some imported mid laners who are pretty good, but if you guys are throwing that out there about DeMonte, I'm just saying, like, it didn't go so well for him. I'm not sure the skill gap is that big. I think there is one. I don't think it's that big. So if they look at him and they say, hey man, this guy, like, he has some crazy mechanics. He's got an interesting play style. He's got, an aggression that maybe will rub off on the rest of our team. So if we put the right pieces around him to kind of keep that in check, we'll be good. Hey, it could work out. I'm not gonna close the book on it before it even gets a try, especially as we come off the back of a very, very rough 2019. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. Dr. LO, I hope that answers your question. I see what your concern is. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now about Ryoma.
I want to make an additional comment on that, because I think that reminded me of some stuff I've seen. So full transparency. I don't have a dossier on Ryoma. I didn't scout him before the team picked him up. I don't have a rich history of watching him in the OCE. There are clips of this kid out there where you watch them and it is shocking how aggressive he is. And I mean that in a literal sense, right? Like it's hard to process at first what you're seeing. It's so different from what we have had in any of our mid laners, any of them. Even I would say in our best mid laner, Ryu, it's just a very different play style. And so personally, I have a lot of respect for going after somebody who has just a very different way of thinking about the position they play, because that's the hardest thing to change in somebody. You can expand a champion pool, you can teach people new strategies and play styles and new champions. You can't teach them to charge into a fight when they have 200 HP and there are 3 people standing there. You can't teach it. And I almost think the more you try, the less it works. The only way you get that person is by finding the one whose brain is wired that way and signing them to your team. So yeah, I think that there's a lot to like about the fact that we signed this guy. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. You can't only take sure bets, I think, is another thing we're learning. If you do that, 1, you're going to bankrupt yourself. And 2, sure bets end up falling pretty short. You know, we had 3 sure bets, or 2, in groups Worlds last year, and 0 of them got out. So I'm all for trying new things. And this is a player on our roster who represents something we've never had on our roster. And kind of gives us a different look. How well will he work with somebody like Meteos, who's a super aggressive jungler? As we looked back at those plays, he was making plays that we had forgotten you could make in the jungle, right? And the other thing important to note about Meteos is he doesn't die a lot, right? Spring 2018, his death share, he was the 9th lowest death share of all junglers.
9
so
out of
all
10.
these aggressive all these aggressive plays he's making, all these, you know, flashing over the wall to pick up a kill, going in, you know, against the odds. He didn't give up kills. And that continued in 2019 summer. He was 10th in death share. So you're pairing Ryoma up with a person who knows how to play aggressively in a smart way. I think that can go a long ways.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I hope this is not a case of we're going to be sitting here, you know, with the opposite that we thought happening, you know, and in 3 months wondering who our next mid laner will be. But I'm, like I said, I don't
want to play that game.
Let's not write it off yet.
No.
You know? So aside from Ryoma, then Jordan, who, like, what or who, or, you know, what are your main things that you're paying the most attention to for 100 Thieves in 2020?
I'll do a little bit of prediction game. I think we will have collective amnesia on Ssumday playing carry champions. At some point, I wonder if we will begin asking again, why don't we put him on carry champions? And I just ask everybody as a special preseason announcement. Just remember that may not be his preferred play style, right? He is somebody who he is uniquely skilled in his ability to win fights he shouldn't win and you know, pick up a lot of kills. But we kind of went through that already. So if things aren't going super well and he is continuing to perform, let's not go immediately back to, just put him on champions who are good at taking over a game. Because for whatever reason before, that wasn't the play style that he was comfortable going with. If it was, they would have just done it, right? Or like it just didn't work for the squad.
I was going to say, and as Tim pointed that out when we had him on the show, and then afterwards he continued to point it out that the team performance actually seemed to be better when Ssumday was not on carry champions. So.
Right. So think about that. That's my top lane thought, because I have no doubt that Ssumday's going to perform. I know he will. I've talked about Meteos. I've talked about Ram a little bit. Cody Sun, the debate on Cody Sun and what I expect we'll see picked up is it Cody Sun or is it his supports? He's had the benefit of Aframu. of Vulcan. The guy's been to Worlds 3 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't really watch
with
Worlds.
Immortals.
I think with Immortals he went. Could be wrong. Check me on that, chat. Anyway, he went last year. He went the year before. Team made it. He's good. He's good. I'm not ready to join in the conversation, and I just don't think it's worth talking about. It's a position that you really can't pull apart. So I'm not interested in trying to figure out which of the one in that duo lane are actually good. Cody's good. So to me, that leaves Stunt. We've not really talked about Stunt at all. I heard somebody say Stunt feels more like a side grade to Aphromoo, which I thought was a pretty, generous is not the right word, but favorable comparison. And that's probably Aphromoo end of 2019.
I was going to say, yeah, he wasn't playing very well during that last split. So
yeah. So I don't know. And it feels weird to say, but I don't feel like I have a big sample size of games to look at for Stunt. He's played in the academy for quite some time, and we've seen a lot of that. The game he played with Bang in the LCS, I thought he did a great job. So if he can do more of that, if he can bring that, I think we'll be fine. And Cody's the kind of guy who, he has a certain play style. He wants to stay alive, and he wants to get a lot of kills late in the game. And I think as his support, your job is to let him do that. And if you can let him do that, then you've done your job. Not much else matters.
Yeah.
So we'll see if you can do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say Stunt is someone that I'll have my eye on as one of the big keys, because the support play will impact so much on what Cody's able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree. I think that even though there have been some bad plays that are very memorable for Cody Sun, on the whole, he's been good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think Vulcan's good too, and I think Aphromoo played really well for him. But at the very least, he's viable and decent. So I don't have any qualms there about that. But yeah, Stunt. It's like he's been on a lot of teams. And he's bounced around a lot, and like he's more experienced than I think we realize. But I don't know if that is good or bad, because he's not done a lot of starting,
Right.
So I guess I have my eye on him closely as one of the more key things, because again, I am fully accepting Ryoma as a developmental project.
Yeah. But not Stunt.
Stunt is someone that I think we need a little more immediate use out of.
You need him to deliver. That one will be easy to tell how it's going. Is Cody Sun making it into the mid to late game in good shape? It's a binary question on how Stunt has done. If the answer is yes, great. And I think it's one of those things too, where, it might be that Cody Sun makes it there, and we still have a hard time piecing our team fights together, or, the synergy just isn't quite there yet on these players knowing how, like, anticipating what the others will do. That comes with time. If you are an item behind and you're trying to scrape together some, a kill or two in team fights, the game's over. You're going to lose, especially with objectives being as important as they are this season. So that's what I'll keep an eye out for in bot lane.
Yeah. All right, let's do this then. Let's go to some listener takes that were sent in, some listener questions, and run through those, and then we'll wrap up the pod. That sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, cool. So first one we had from our friend Lampy GG.
Lampy, what's up?
Lampy says, does reverting back to a familiar squad, so i.e. the Meteos, Cody Sun, Ssumday thing, show a lack of vision, or does placing a relatively unknown Osh player show that there is a calculated vision?
Yeah.
Who leads off? You want it, or do you want me to do it?
I'll take it. Okay. I'm gonna go with gut reactions. I'm not gonna overthink these.
Sure.
I think it'll be more valuable. I think you can ask yourself, who saw this coming, right? So I would say it actually shows more vision than I think maybe people are ready to give it credit for. It feels a little bit like, oh, easy, you run it back, but I think to understand and appreciate what we had, the pieces that worked, And now this is all assuming that this works. If it doesn't work, this shows an acute lack of vision. But if what you are able to see is there were pieces here that worked really well, and there was a dynamic that prevented them from staying together for the long term, that dynamic has now changed. We have new staff. It's time to run it back. I think that takes a lot of vision for me. And then I think, again, an unknown Osh player mid. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it, it's like a different kind of vision, right? Like that's more of you are anticipating upside. You're kind of using foresight to see what this player could become. For me, there are two different kinds of vision, both equally important. It's almost like the team cohesion and composition piece, and then the scouting piece. So we're going to get a really excellent opportunity to have a look at both of those things, because if the team blows up and Ryoma's not so good, we're 0 for 2.
Yeah, so I guess I'm kind of feeling like a lack of vision to me would have been taking something that's easily available like DeMonte.
There, yeah,
you know,
that's
I mean?
right.
That would have been a lack of vision. So,
right. Or just cobbling together the best team you could.
Yeah, it's not like the first thing you think of is to import someone from Osh, especially someone who may not have been the most obvious candidate for that move. So
you keep Bang, you keep Fake God, you get DeMonte, and you grab an available jungler. Like that would be the low vision score team.
Yeah.
But one that was there.
Yep. Okay, moving on. At ohmyjosh5 on Twitter says, with the new playoff and worlds format, what do you think should the expectation be for this upcoming year? Is it playoffs? But spring doesn't seem as important than summer, which now has an 18 playoff. So is it, I guess, to rephrase this question, because there's a little bit more, it's should our expectation as fans be to make playoffs, or are we just looking for any sort of improvement? I can lead off on this one.
Yeah, go
ahead. I think that there has been a lot of movement in NA this split, and things are really up in the air for a lot of teams. Ordinarily, in this position, I would say, hey, just show me some improvement, and I think that's a reasonable expectation. I'm going to say, if we believe that we have the right people in place to be guiding this team, so Papa and Zix, Jungle Juice, if those are the right guys for the job, then they should rise above their peers in terms of the moves and settling in and getting the team chemistry on track, getting the strategy playing out the way it should be, finding the right strategy sooner. If we have the right guys, we should have an advantage on some of these squads. So I am going to say that for this split, even though I'm along for this ride, I'm trusting the Papa. I've got the hashtag built into the new animation even. And if we don't meet this expectation, I don't think the world's on fire, but I think we should find playoffs.
Yeah. And when you say playoffs, are you thinking of spring, summer, either, both?
I think definitely summer, because there's 8 teams in the summer playoff now. If we don't hit summer playoffs, I'll be disappointed legit. But I'm looking for spring playoffs too. I think it's doable.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, I think if you don't make summer playoffs, it's almost like you gotta blow the squad up.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's one. It is the gauntlet now. There is no net to save you. I'm like, we're just all our chips on the gauntlet. We're going all in. No, you gotta show up. You gotta make playoffs. You have to perform in summer. Yeah. Yep. I'm with you on that.
Okay. Next one, I'll let you take. At our old friend, I always hate saying his name. At Tasio Salad says, so with Ryoma and other minor region imports like Closer being a hot topic among fans, is it worth? Sorry, I'm just kind of rewording this. Is it worth doing that instead of using an upcoming resident player? Okay, so minor region imports versus using upcoming domestic players. he says there's significant criticism going to 100 Thieves for picking him up. What do you think reactions will be if Ryoma does better than most mids? Okay, so two-part question.
Yep.
Is it worth it to try for these minor region imports over domestic players? And then B, what do you think reactions will be if Ryoma does better than most mids? And I think he means, what will that make teams do? Like, what? I don't think it's like, oh, what will fans say? I think it's what will teams do?
Yeah. So, and the question of if it's worth 100% if he does better, you know, and the only reason you go for him is because you think he will, and or you look at the available talent pool of NA mids, which is notoriously small. I'm serious. If you are like a high level mid player, get it. Now this is your season.
Yeah, it is.
So it, that's the bet that the team is making. They've looked at all the talent available. They looked at Demonte. You can be positive. They looked at Demonte. They looked at everybody who was unsigned. They looked at the high ranking, the top 10 players. If there are any mids in there, who knows? And they thought that Ryoma was the best of that bunch. Because here's what you don't do. You don't pay the extra costs associated with visa fees. You don't use an import slot. You don't, kind of take a risk in bringing somebody in who you just don't know as well, right? I guarantee you they don't know this guy as well as other players they've been competing against for 2 years. Even if you knew about him and had been watching him for some time, you haven't played against him.
Right.
You don't have that data. So you've got to look at it and just make the decision on, do we think he's better? And they did. They thought he's better. So I can't remember exactly the question I was answering.
Is it worth it over a upcoming resident?
Yeah. So my answer is it's worth it if he's better. And right now we think he's better. We won't know until we start playing games. But I would say until we see that he's not better, and whatever that might mean, we won't know that it was or wasn't worth it.
I'm going to go after you and say that's a wishy-washy answer because of course, if it's worth it, like if it works, it was worth it. Of course. Like that's not a question. Yeah. I think the real question is
that's the definition of worth.
Well, I know, but
my answer is we think he's better. So yes, it's worth.
I think what the question really is like, should teams be pursuing minor imports or should they be pursuing domestic mids? Not necessarily like in this case, what do we think? And so in that case,
here's my concrete. Let me rectify my wishy-washy answer.
All right.
Teams have an obligation to sign the best available talent, given their roster constraints, who they have available, how many import slots they have open. And so no team owes any resident player anything, is one thing I'll say. When it comes to your LCS lineup, you have an obligation to your shareholders to make money and win games. You don't have an obligation to me, aspiring mid lane talent, to give me a shot when I don't deserve one. That's as concrete as I can make it.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I will also say I think that the teams that we have seen succeed in LCS, and again, I will make this disclaimer since we haven't done a podcast in a really long time. We'll make this disclaimer for anybody who might be new.
Yeah.
We are far from experts on this stuff, and we don't have a long history watching League of Legends, okay? So take this with whatever grains of salt you feel appropriate. But I'm just saying, what we have seen is that the teams that are succeeding are the ones that are having imported mid laners.
Yeah.
Imported solo laners, And I don't care where that comes from. I want the good player. Yeah. And so if again, it's not like the teams have not seen what's available from NA in the mid lane.
Right.
And I know it uses an import slot for the team. If I had to choose which position, if I only had one import spot to use, I would import mid.
Yes.
So let's give it a whirl, especially if, the new import rule for Academy is there. It's like, okay, it doesn't work. You have kind of that extra pocket for him in Academy.
Right.
Just do it. I'm all for it.
Yeah. And that does become a little bit harder this season because I think there's one domestic mid, or is there 0 now? Is it 1? I think there's 8. There's 8 EU.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. They're
1 Osh.
It,
And then I
it
think
just
you have one
depends
NA.
on what your definition of domestic is.
Oh, that's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But the other part of this question was, what do you think reactions will be if Ryoma does better than most mids? Which again, I'm taking to mean, will other teams follow suit or whatever?
Mhm.
And I think I think this is going to be a copycat league, especially because everybody's trying to solve this problem of, what is wrong with the NA talent pool? Is it our infrastructure? Is it whatever? If a solution is presented that works, I think people will try and copy that solution. It's the same in every sport. It's the same in
Right.
every esport. So,
Yep.
okay, one more question, then we'll wrap up. Tectonic Clutch says, do you believe we got better as a team this offseason with the moves we made from players to the front office and coaching staff? And he says, I believe the league got better as a whole also, so it will be harder to be a playoff team. And I kind of clarify with him. So I think what he means is like the other teams have made moves, and you can argue that they're like everybody's like improving. Hopefully, everybody's improving. So given that the tide is rising for everybody, were the changes we made enough to keep us ahead of the curve? Are we keeping up with it, or are we lagging behind?
Yeah, that is the question. Here's my sense. The tricky part of this question and this kind of going through this thought is, I always feel like we get better as a region every year. We don't always perform better when we stack us up against the other regions. So it feels weird to me to say the league is getting better, we're in a better place, the teams are better, players, staff, coaches, whatever. The organizations are better, stronger, when we go and we stink it up at Worlds. And
We didn't stink it up at MSI, thanks to
we
you,
didn't
my
stick it up in
brother.
MSI, so it's not a complete wash. But it's just one of those things where, and I think you could ask the same question or kind of posit the same reason for that, to say all the other teams in the world are getting better too, right? Everybody's getting better. This whole thing is developing.
Not
People are
Griffin,
getting better.
RIP.
Oh, yes, they fast and bright. That's how their path was. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're better. I feel like we're better without a doubt. I think other teams are better too. So the question is, how much better are we? I think that we are significantly better than we were at the end of last season. I do. And so that's why I think that I project that we'll finish higher than we did last season, right? That's just kind of how it works. So I think we've made more strides than other teams have. Some other teams have. There are new faces in the schedule. So we were a new face not too long ago, and we surprised a lot of people. There are other new faces who didn't do so hot, right? Golden Guardians had a pretty rocky start. So that's always a roll of the dice. You never really know what you're going to get with these new orgs. I know some of them have kind of been around and they're not totally new, but for a large part, I think the staff is new, the players are new to each other, to the system. So there's a lot there that is in flux. It feels a little bit like the stability we have in some familiar players is an advantage as well.
I'll say this: look at the shirt I'm wearing.
Cole's got 3 words for answer.
I think that like top of the barrel casters are preparing League of Legends strategy and knowledge and team scouting probably as much as teams are, basically. Like they are doing a lot to keep up with that. And Papa is, proven excellent at that. So I feel comfortable with him at the helm right now. And I feel comfortable with his knowledge. I feel comfortable with whatever direction that he wants to take. I'm trusting the Papa. Yeah. So I do think that we have gotten better with these moves. I didn't see them coming. I did not see Papa Smithy being the hire.
Right. Let's not forget that's where this all started.
Right. Yeah. I think this is cool. And I think Zix, I know that he takes some heat for drafts maybe, but I think he can be a good coach for us. So yeah, I think we did get better. Like I said, I predict that there will be a lot of chaos among teams in NA because of all the changes that were made. So look, let's let's see what plays out. But I do think that we're going to see significant improvement from this team. And I hope that I'm not going to have to eat my words on a later stream. And I'll leave it at that.
Cool. We will destroy all evidence of this podcast if in 3 months we are in a shambles, bottom of the table, can't get a single win. I was gonna say it feels bad to say that. Like I should feel like, oh, don't be so negative. But I'm having flashbacks to almost exactly 1 year ago today.
When we thought all was well.
Yeah, I do feel like, we've come a long way. We've learned a lot through the last year. The experience has taught us a lot. We're hardened. It feels different now. Yeah. I would be truly shocked if we ended up in a similar spot. And I think I've learned better than to say it would never happen, because I think that's foolish. But I truly would be surprised. I don't see it happening. So I'm going with that.
All right. Well, hey, that's going to do it for us for 100 Talk this week, the first real 100 Talk podcast of 2020.
2020 is underway officially.
Don't think we're going to do a show next week.
Oh, no.
We'll see, but we will for sure be doing a show the week after that.
Probably not on Monday.
On that to come.
Right?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh gosh, we don't have time, but I want to talk about this new schedule that they have with the off day going away, and I wonder how that's going to affect players and stuff. But we'll have to save that conversation for another time. Mm-hmm. Again, if you're new to what we do, stay with us. We're not league experts, but we love 100 Thieves, and we're probably as close to 100 Thieves experts as you're going to get.
Yeah, been around for a while when it comes to this team.
Yeah, and so let us be your dads. Follow us on Twitter. Follow the show. Thank you for everything you guys have been doing to support us. I promise there's some very cool stuff coming very soon to the show that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. So thank you. Stay tuned. Continue to support. Jordan and I are going to take a brief intermission.
Yes.
And then we will
cool thing happening right now.
Yeah, we will be back on stream. I don't know how long. 30 minutes, hour, something. So we'll be back on tonight in not too long. And we'll be playing some games on stream, and we can have some further conversation with chat. If you guys have more questions that you want us to talk about, but mainly so you can just make fun of us play League of Legends. All right. Cause it's been a while since you've had the opportunity to truly laugh at my spaghetti ults, and they're coming cause I'm playing Misfortune on stream tonight.
I'm playing Bard.
Yeah. Is it time to pay your debt yet?
It's time.
I don't know.
To pay my debt.
Speaking of paying debts, the lore readings are for the month of February.
Oh, you're right.
That was part of the deal. They're for the month of February. So chill on the lore readings. They are coming.
We're gonna have to budget. If you don't know what we're talking about,
I gotta study up on all the lore.
And a fun off season. So if somehow you're just tuning in now, it's gonna be a ton of content coming your way. It's gonna be a fun season. Cannot wait. And we're gonna find different ways to engage with you all and just continue to have fun, even when we're not talking about the games over the weekend. So stay tuned.
Yeah, it should be an awesome year. So we love you. We miss you already. As always, this has been 100 Talk, and we'll see you next time.